The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into Crossed Flags, and guess who I found? He's feeling better enough to at least come back and join us on the podcast here, and that means that maybe we'll have a really good big show this coming weekend as well. We're a day later than what we usually are, just because of the way things go as we start to deal with the holidays and everybody kind of messing around with schedules, but that's the way that it is. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. We got producer Molly behind the scenes. Producer John will be helping out as well. We thank them both. And let us be amongst the last to say that we hope you had a very happy Thanksgiving weekend. If you hosted, hopefully you were able to get everything cleaned up. If you traveled, hopefully it was a safe one, whatever it was. There's going to be a lot to get to this weekend. Silly season stuff is really taking shape, and it has actually manifested itself in both IndyCar and Formula One this week, to the point where we're finalized for the driver lineup for Formula One for 2026. And we're really close to that in IndyCar as well. So we'll get all those details to you this coming weekend as we get into the big show. Again, 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Math, don't fail me now, right? This Saturday morning, always, you can join us on CRN Live on YouTube. But we have two things that we want to talk about. One, obviously, is the beginning of the trial. And it's the whole NASCAR versus 2311 front row. We're going to dive into that a little bit later on, because this has created a whole lot of people who have been kind of wondering. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago here on this podcast in showing you some of those text messages, how even NASCAR seemed to think that they might be getting threatened by something like the Superstar Racing Experience, which was this
laughable.
Yeah.
Laughable.
To put it mildly, very laughable thing. This is a specialty run of 6 races in the middle of a summer, and it's either running on a Saturday night or a Thursday night. That's not even going up against generally any NASCAR race that they would have to worry about. But they got really bothered by it. Maybe, and we bring Matt in on this one, in the fact that the IHRA, the International Hot Rod Association, which you would normally consider to be the main competitor for the NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, they have decided that they're going to start themselves what they're terming a stock car series. And they're promising that this is going to be inexpensive, easy for people to enter, and they're going to have a $2 million purse that is going to be split amongst all the competitors. Here you go, right here. The thing about it is, if you look at those cars, they do really resemble the Chevrolets, Camaros, that we are seeing being used in the Xfinity, soon-to-be O'Reilly Auto Parts series and the Cup series, but in a lot of ways, they're really more late models, aren't they?
Yes, it's a direct alignment to what you would see in series like the CRA Super Series, UARA late models, the Southern Super Series, Cars Tour late models, Pro and late model stocks. This is what that would be a direct competition to. It's nothing even remotely close to anything that's ARCA, O'Reilly Auto Parts series, or not even in the same zip code as Cup. So this is more late model style series for grassroots style. And Daryl Cuddle and that staff at IHRA, I applaud them for it, because this would be one of the most cost-effective ways to get into a series of this level. Because with them, how they're talking, they're going to do it. And from what I'm gathering, it's going to be a crate engine style series, and crate engines can be, with the exception of which level you run at and dirt late models, but crate engines can be very cost not cost heavy. Let's call it that.
Not necessarily cost prohibitive.
Prohibitive.
Let's put it that way.
Cost prohibitive. Yes. Not like you're going to spend $40,000 or $50,000 on an engine for a late model, which can or higher, which can be easily be done. Crate engines, you may be on the high end. If you run the aluminum head crate engine, high end, $12,000.
Okay. Since you are much more familiar with this, having come from dirt late models, running dirt late models, super late models, things like that out in Talladega short track and several others, and you know a little bit more about this. Main differences between what we're talking about and anything that you could consider to be a competitor to the NASCAR stock car series.
This right here would be special built chassis that are probably, I'm going to say, in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,200 pounds lighter than Xfinity Cup, stuff like that. ARCA even. They're more tuned and more built to the up and coming driver. Let's word it that way. They're much more easier to maintain, for sure. They have some characteristics of components that the upper levels do, but they're not as cost prohibitive because you can put serious limitations, like if you can have shock limitations of what style shocks you can run, spring limitations, the engine for sure, and other things like that that make it better. Let's say it that way.
Okay. And you mentioned the name Darrell Cuttle a minute ago. He is the owner of the IHRA brand. He's the chairman as well. This is a guy who, in the course of a year and a half tops, has taken the IHRA from being, we'll go so far as to call it irrelevant in the racing world. Might even go so far as to say irrelevant in the drag racing world.
Right.
To the point where it is now really, I think, legitimately once again on the national scene and even trying to go international. This is something we'll dig into a little bit more once we get into the big show come Saturday. But when you think about this and all of the tracks that he bought, rumors of the fact that, and I say rumors because they're unconfirmed, that he is on another buying spree of tracks. He merged the IHRA here in the United States with an international version of the IHRA to kind of put it all up under one roof. He got into working with and then buying out a power boat racing series, and now he's starting this. And we kind of wonder about Darrell Cuttle here, truth be told, because we don't know a whole lot about the man, but apparently he's either very, very rich on his own, or he's got some serious backers who are more than happy to go however he wants to go.
I did a little bit of homework regarding him, and from what I have seen and gathered, he is a very, very prominent real estate, I'm going to use the term mogul, that does do business with none other than Elon Musk.
Well, that would do it. And
that defines it right there.
Yeah, I think that pretty much helps you figure out where the money's coming from and how he's doing that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this manifests itself. And like you said, Matt, Cars Tours, CRA and stuff like that. This is another way for drivers on the local scale, like you were, Talladega and Magnolia and, kind of regional.
I'm not retired yet.
That's true. To be able to get yourself up and onto the national scale.
Right. Yeah. And it's a good stepping stone. Not going to say great, not going to say bad. I'm going to say good stepping stone for somebody that can get in there in a $2 million purse. That's nothing to bat an eye at. That's pretty good. And when everything is not tentatively released, let me word it that way.
That's true.
Based off of that schedule that I've seen combined with the IHRA drag racing schedule that I've seen, there's a facility that I have been on the grounds of that's about to come back to life that's probably going to put on one of the better, if not one of the best late model shows that you probably will ever see in Memphis. Memphis is a very, very good little track, especially the oval. And then when you go out there to watch the final ARCA race that ever competed at Memphis, and then you're listening going, what is it, the drag strip? You got Larry Dixon out there with a 2-seater top fuel car. And then under caution, everybody's going to the edge of the stands watching when Larry Dixon's making runs down the drag strip. And I'm pretty sure what I can gather from everything, too, that I've read little bits and pieces, Darrell Cuttle has got some influence getting Memphis back going with Clay Milligan. Ring a bell? That's Clay's home track. And what I've seen that he's put into watching the races from like from Milan, National Trail, Dunn, North Carolina, how he's revitalized those tracks, what he can do there. I'm kind of anxious to see what he does with Memphis, because Memphis is in a really good spot where that facility is located at. And it's got a lot of potential if the right person has their hands on it. Because I would, point blank honest, I would love to see an ARCA race go back to Memphis, or even a Truck Series race go back to Memphis, because it's a really good little short track. Yeah. It put on a really good show.
And if Darrell Cuttle can get a hold of that track and that facility and do what he has been talking about trying to do, and that's not the only track, by the way, that we're talking about in this next round that he's talking about. There's a couple of other tracks not too far away from our home base here in Birmingham that also are being affected by this particular bit of news. So it's going to be very interesting to see if all of these rumors do come to fruition and they are exactly what we are hearing so far. But this is pretty good news right here. I'm liking what we're hearing.
Because if the tentative IHRA schedule that I have seen,
and we'll detail come this weekend on the big show,
there's one that is really close in proximity to here where we're at. The other one is about to be a phoenix out of the ashes, just across the state line.
That's true too. Yeah.
So
we were wondering about that one when that one got announced.
That's going to be pretty good, and it will be really good for drag racing overall for the state of Alabama, particularly because I don't think ever there's been a Nitro Series come across the state line of Alabama.
Not that I know of. Certainly not in the NHRA.
No, I don't recall IHRA ever doing it.
I don't remember the IHRA doing it either. It may have, but it was a long time ago.
If it was, it would be back in the mid to early 90s when they were pretty prominent up at Alabama International and Steel.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it may be even longer ago than that, if ever. So good stuff there, but here's the side of it, because there's a whole lot of people out there talking about this lawsuit, and then they're looking at this and going, wow, what convenient timing, so therefore the IHRA is taking on NASCAR. No, not yet. I'm at this point in time, I'm not going to put anything past Darrell Cuttle, considering what he's bought, what he's acquired, what he's starting up, and all this. But at this point in time, despite the fact that he's calling it a stock car series, it doesn't appear that he's trying to take on NASCAR directly yet. Who is taking on NASCAR directly is the duo of 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, and that's the lawsuit that we have been talking about now for, ever since the whole charter thing got kind of blitzed and those two teams didn't sign. The trial has begun. And I'm talking about officially, the trial has begun. They were able to seat 12 people, and this is a civil trial. It's not a criminal trial, so you don't need 12 in a jury and then alternates. You need 9 in a jury and 3 alternates. But they found a dozen people in the Charlotte area who were able to state that they had no specific feelings one way or another about either NASCAR or Michael Jordan or Denny Hamlin. Wow. That's impressive.
Especially in that state.
Yeah. I mean, NASCAR is a major business in North Carolina. And let's face it, it's Michael Jordan, who went to the University of North Carolina and for a while owned the Charlotte NBA team. And you don't have specific feelings about him, but You said it.
That's all you can say is whatever to that one.
What I heard, one of the questionnaires that got returned from one of the jurors who, from what I understand, did get seated, was they asked him what were his hobbies, and he wrote down drinking a lot. Okay. Hopefully you can hold off for a couple of weeks while this jury trial is going on. But so they get started. They have had Denny Hamlin on the witness stand already. He got emotional because he did get to talking about his dad, who is not good health-wise, unfortunately. And that's apparently what he got highly emotional about. He also apparently got pretty ticked off when he was in cross-examination by the NASCAR lawyer. So he went from being very sad to being, well, angry. Michael Jordan's in the courtroom. He is not listed as a witness, but they do have him sitting up front pretty prominently. Jim France is there. Lisa France Kennedy is there. From what I understand, Ben Kennedy might be a witness, so he's not in there on a daily basis.
The NASCAR dude, and I've never heard of his name. That Prime guy, Scott Prime, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He, I was seen earlier. He just has been, after 4 hours of being on between late yesterday and today, he's off the stand finally. And I think the next person up is Bob Jenkins. But of some of the, I think Claire Lang, Adam Stern, and Bob Parker as well, all basically shared the same thing of some of the context of what questions that Prime was asked versus his response. And if anybody that was on that jury had a fraction of a known of what's going on, and I'm the judge, this trial's already over. Here's why. Because Scott Prime has already kind of, I'm going to use a term that my grandfather used. He him-hawed around a subject of, so you're not not directly taking sponsorship from teams and using it for your own. He said no.
Really?
Does Geico ring a bell?
Yeah, Geico does kind of come to mind.
Because Geico sponsorship that left
Jermaine Racing, which
went to Cup.
Torpedoed Jermaine Racing, by the way.
Jermaine's dead.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's number one right there. And it's something today talking about, and Kessler was lighting him up today about exclusivity. And I think he kept trying to run around the subject of the Gold Star package or whatever, or they was going to try to acquire SMI, try to say it was something dealing for TNT to where they could ensure they had Atlanta. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. But the deal with the sponsorship, this is already over in my book, because you got a direct line right there. They took Geico as a premier sponsor away from Jermaine. Jermaine's dead now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny because 2311 started out in Jermaine's shop.
They did. Kind of interesting to note. And other premier sponsorships like Coca-Cola. Don't really see Coca-Cola on the cars anymore. I mean, it was prominent on the cars for many, many years.
Maybe one here, there, and there.
Very rarely anymore.
Yeah, rarely.
Very rarely anymore. Busch, I got to give credit to them. They have been willing to go not only premier, but stick on a car. Xfinity for a while was pulling double duty, but now they are only a premier partner. They're no longer the title sponsor. As we noted just a moment ago, the Xfinity series is soon to become the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. But here's the thing. We're just underway. We've been pretty much promised this is going to be about a 2-week process. But everybody is sitting there saying, and Matt even noted it, Scott Prime got on the stand yesterday, Tuesday, as we're doing this on Wednesday, continued on the stand today, just happened to get off the stand. This is going much longer than what most people thought it would. They thought that witnesses were going to be going through much quicker, and that maybe that the jury would get this and we might be done within 2 weeks. Now we've got people sitting here wondering whether or not this is going to get to the jury within 2 weeks. So this is not a done process. by any stretch. And it always does begin with those who are suing, the plaintiff, going out strong first. And Jeffrey Kessler's strong. Jeffrey Kessler is by trade an antitrust lawyer. He is a guy who has helped antitrust cases within the sports world in other different sorts of sports and won. So he's good. And I'm not taking anything away from him. But then we're going to get to the point where the defendants will have their chance. And they'll have their chance to really start to go out and present everything. Right now, they're in reaction mode. So we'll see whether or not this turns the tide. I don't know whether it will. And I certainly am not sitting on the jury panel, so I have no idea what it is all that they're looking at. We're only getting this kind of secondhand because only a few people are allowed in there. TV cameras are not allowed in there. Phones, recording devices, all of that stuff, none of that is allowed in there. So basically, they're having to take notes and then go out and take all those notes and turn them into posts or stories or call-ins to radio shows. That's all they can do. So it's going to be interesting to see how this translates going from week 1 to week 2. We do know, as he said, Front Row Motorsports owner Bob Jenkins is going to get up there. We are hearing that the representatives, if not the actual owners of teams like Joe Gibbs, Rick Hendrick, RFK, Richard Childress Racing, they're all going to be called as well to testify.
Roger
Penske as well, Team Penske. So all of these teams will have, like I said, if not the direct owner, read Rick Hendrick, Joe Gibbs himself, you said it, Roger Penske, either Brad Keselowski or Jack Roush, which I would think would be Brad Keselowski.
I think Heather Gibbs is going up to represent JGR.
Yeah. So you're going to have either the owner or an executive of that team come in and give testimony on behalf of the teams. Exactly what it's going to come out as, we don't know yet, because a lot of these teams are really trying to hide their financials as well, which does bring up the question, what exactly are they hiding? Because
a lot of lost money.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to that old phrase within the racing world, and it really doesn't matter what series you're talking about, that goes, if you'd like to make a small fortune in the racing world, you got to start off with a big fortune. We're hearing that there are a lot of teams that are losing significant amounts of money.
Well, one thing in particular that I seen earlier that was, I can't remember who shared it, but it was a document that was given today as part of the document, evidence documents, easy for me to say, of 2311 and I think it was 2024, 2311 paid NASCAR $168,000, I think is the number, what it was, for data and analytics usage. What?
That's a lot of money for something that's as nebulous as data and analytics usage.
For what? I don't understand. So why would they have to pay something to get data off of their own car or cars up? Makes no sense.
It's a very good question. And I think one of the things that I heard this today, just before we came in the latest round of reports, middle of the day, latest round of the reports, was that Scott Prime is reported to have said that the charters, which we are seeing charters sell anywhere between $20 and $45 million, give or take, over the last 2, maybe 3 years. And one of the things that a number of the teams, if not the overwhelming majority of them, wanted with this new charter deal that got signed just a little over a year ago now, was that they wanted them to become permanent. In other words, they wanted their charters that were assigned to them to become theirs permanently, to do with as they would, however long that they wanted to, and that NASCAR couldn't just pull them away at a moment's notice. Well, that's what NASCAR balked at. One of the things that they balked at, I guess I should say. But think about this. A charter that is now a non-permanent thing, if I have one and Matt wants one, or if Matt and I happen to own 4, let's say, and Molly's starting up her own new team, she comes to us, well, she better have $20 million to $45 million to start with. But what if those things became permanent? What if they were permanent? That does make them more valuable, doesn't it? Because between Molly, Matt, and myself, all of us either having or wanting a charter, that can be pulled away by NASCAR at any moment, which does take away some of the value because we don't know whether or not NASCAR is going to come to us and just go, sorry, you did this wrong, yank. And then at that point in time, Molly could be on the prime end of it because if she's first in line, NASCAR just gives it to her.
Oh, here we go. I found it. I found the graphic right here.
But let me finish this.
Go ahead.
If they made it permanent, Scott Prime admitted that he felt that that number of value where Molly might have to pay, well, I'll say Matt and I, we'll just split the difference between 20 and 45 million, put it at about $33 million. That's a pretty hefty chunk of money. Triple it. If NASCAR allowed the teams to have those charters permanently, Scott Prime estimated that the value of a charter would become somewhere around $100 million.
Which is dumb.
Take it away.
That graphic where they had the okay. Excuse me. Adam Stern shared it of a graphic that's on a document where 2311 says it paid to NASCAR last year. Just a simple breakdown. All right, they had to pay $5,440 for pre-licensed drug testing. $299,905 for licenses for the entire team.
Ouch.
Okay. Entry fees, $278,401. Penalty fees, $200,000. Internet and data analytics, $168,357. SMT analytics, $42,466. For a grand total of they paid NASCAR for expenses, $994,569.
So for all intents and purposes, they paid NASCAR $1 million.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. There's so much breakdown and everything in here, but another hook, line, and sinker moment where they got them, as Kessler pointed out at Prime about the deadline they had to sign it on the weekend of Atlanta last year in 2024. And Scott Prime admitted, yes, because we had to get it submitted, so there was a hard deadline. He just basically said they pushed it, sign it, or take it away.
Yeah.
Or you lose your charter. It's dead in the water for me because that's what happened. Push. We got to sign it. And people probably didn't even read it halfway through. And they're, here, forget it. Get it out of my way. And now we're going, what did we sign?
Yeah.
Goes
back to the old, you're going to have to read the bill to find out what's in it. No, you got to give us the time to actually break this thing down. This is a long legal contract. And no, I haven't seen it, but I would imagine there's a lot of pages on this thing. There's a lot of legalese in there. And no, I can understand it if you were thrown that and you were told sign it by this point in time or that's it, and you balk at it. I get it. I fully understand it. It's going to be interesting to watch this. We'll be updated. We'll update again coming up this weekend on the Big Show as Matt and I get back into the big saddle again. Again, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time this Saturday morning. CRN Live on YouTube. If you have the opportunity to check it out, we appreciate it. And of course, we'll get into it next week as well, right here on the next edition of Crossed Flags. And we'll break down more news as it comes along as well. So I hope you join us on Saturday, and thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, all those wonderful things. We love to read those. We appreciate it. We appreciate producers John and Molly for all of their help, and we will talk to you this Saturday and again next week right here on Crossed Flags.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.